All right, welcome everybody. Welcome to Talking Investing. Welcome to a huge update in Bitcoin. A big reversal in the Bitcoin miners. I'm Tom. I'm here with George. George, how's it going?
I am George, happy Bills fan.
Ah, yes. We'll get to that. We definitely had some late night football last night. So, first of all, I just want to welcome everybody to the stream. If you're new here, then welcome to the channel. If you just happen to stumble across our tiny little corner of YouTube. For those of you who are members, thank you so much. I do see in the chat is filled with members, so much appreciation to our members. Also, letting the members know I did put out a members only video today on Hive blockchain. So if you have not checked that out, I think it's worth checking out. And welcome to all the subscribers. Welcome to all the people who have recently subscribed. Welcome if you've come here from Larry, Uncle Larry, so and anywhere else. So
We are all George.
and he actually is George.
Yes, the real George. See, I think you might want to start reading that I am George will be in here because I am George. Sorry.
That might be misleading. I don't know.
What?
I
But
forgot
yeah,
the most
I am
important
Georgie.
part.
That's the best thing. Yeah, I am Georgie.
The most importantly, well, not most importantly is hopefully everybody made a bunch of money today. But if you are here, if you have not smashed the subscribe button, I'm sorry, if you have not smashed the like button, please smash the like button. It helps the stream out in real time. It makes a gigantic difference in the YouTube algorithm. We are raising the goal now. We're shooting for 300 likes.
Whoa.
Yes, 300 likes, please. So it helps the channel out. If you have been here for a while, or if you're new here, if you enjoy this content, if you are interested in Bitcoin and the Bitcoin miners, we talk about this all the time on the channel. In fact, we put a video out today earlier going through the top 10 Bitcoin miners. We've done a couple of deep dives lately, one on Marathon, one on Riot. So there's a lot of content. We did one for the members only. If you're interested, we do have the least expensive membership on YouTube, I think. Anyway, my point of all that was, if you enjoy that kind of content, please consider subscribing to the channel. What's happening, George?
Dude, I don't know. It looks like we got some Bitcoin movement finally, huh?
We got Bitcoin movement. We got some Bitcoin miners. We had some big activity with one miner in particular, some gigantic announcements, and then some smaller announcements today. And also, first and foremost, Bitcoin 47,000.
That's incredible.
Yeah, I mean, we didn't even get time to celebrate Bitcoin 46,000 because it ran straight to 47,000. So we're a little under that right now, 46,876, but we were a substantial amount of the trading day. We were trading at or around or above 47,000, according to the chart I'm on, which is the TradingView Bitcoin Coinbase chart. It looks like the high of the day was 47,330. So that is like a 21-month high. You have to go back to either early April or late March of 2022. So we never hit any of these numbers in 2023. So this is all much higher than we ever got in 2023. You got to go most of the way back in 2022. So 2024, Bitcoin seems to be off to the races. Obviously, today is the 8th. This is one of 3 days people have been talking about, the 8th, the 9th, but mostly the 10th. All eyes are looking for a potential approval of the Bitcoin Spot ETF on January 10th, which is this Wednesday. So what does that mean? Is that going to be at 8 o'clock in the morning? Is that going to be sometime during the day? Is it, there is a little bit of a drop dead date going on here because I believe it's the ARC Bitcoin Spot ETF application that either has to get accepted or rejected. They cannot defer, delay anymore. So, that's, and with a massive amount of activity around this, there's just a growing sense that this is imminent. There was a few things that happened today that actually increased my confidence in this. I want to get a poll going right away.
You got to get a poll.
We got to get a poll. And, you know, we've been doing this poll on every single live stream. We do a live stream every Friday after the market closes for the world. We also do a members only live stream every Tuesday after the market closes. But on days where stuff happens, like for instance, today Bitcoin hit 47,000, or on days that are rough days, we try and join together and do, you know, some extra impromptu live streams just to talk it over, whether it was good news or bad news. So today, obviously, today is a good news day. But we've been doing this poll for, you know, at least a month now on every single stream. So I'm gonna do the same poll.
As we get closer, Tom, what do you think? And Chris and I have a run. Well, I don't really think it's a running joke anymore. I think you guys really believe it. These guys go opposite of whatever I do. So he wants me to buy Riot, which, by the way, I have a large position already in Riot, and forget about CleanSpark. I have a large position in CleanSpark and Riot, by the way. And I'm actually I'm selling some cans, like some scrap metal and stuff like that from my garage, so I can get some more powder to put in the game.
You got a position in Riot? Is this what I'm hearing?
Yeah, I got a big position in Riot. It hurt. Let's
put it this way. Let me ask you a question. And I'm not up to speed in your personal portfolio. I thought you had a position in Marathon.
Oh, I have a huge position in both.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah, I did. There you go. I got out of, what was I in that I got out of? So I reduced, I shouldn't even tell you this because you guys will think I'm stupid, but I reduced my CleanSpark by 2/3. And so I went way down in that, and then I shifted into mostly Marathon, but just a little taste of Riot. Not a huge position in Riot, sorry. Just a couple.
So you have a small position in Riot, a much larger position in Marathon. You took a bunch of profits on your position in CleanSpark. So it sounds like, did I get that right?
Yeah, and I still think, I know Tom and I will disagree, but I think there's going to be some movement in Bitcoin over the next, 24, 48 hours. So I'm hoping to get back into CleanSpark. I was thinking that it was going to hit 875, 895. It just didn't get there this morning. It got to what did it get to? Like 920, 925, something like that.
So my question to you would be this.
Oh, here we go. In 10 years from now, sorry, go ahead.
I'm going to pull up today's activity. So today, according to Yahoo Finance, and if we go, this is correct. CleanSpark got down to $9.12. So are you telling me that at $9.12, you were waiting for it to go around 10 or 15 more cents?
I was sitting here watching it, and I thought for sure I could be. Dude, you know how many times I know you can't catch a falling knife. I understand this. I try every time.
It's trying to time the bottom. That's the.
I know.
Listen. We're a group. We get together. We chat. We talk. We share ideas. None of this is financial advice. But I will say one of the main things we tend to talk about, there's 5 or 6 common themes. And we talk about how, if you're a buy and hold investor, you don't try and time the bottom. Now, I will say, to George's credit, he does do, in addition to buying and holding, George does do some swing trading. But still, in all,
hang on, somebody asked me about Hive. I have a decent position in the Hive, and it has hurt me so bad I don't even like to talk about it. It is the worst.
Not today, it didn't.
It doesn't matter. It's still, from when I bought it, it's still my worst. It's my worst performer out of anything else, followed by Riot being second.
But it's a pretty much almost a brand new position for you. And
let's put it
the last 2 weeks, we've had a pullback in the Bitcoin miners. Today, notwithstanding.
So what stinks, guys, is that you look at your portfolio, right, and you're like up, 10,000 here, 20,000 here, and then you look at your total gains, and it's just a few $1,000s because you have Riot and Hive. Sorry, that's the truth.
Right. Listen, I'm up. My Riot position, I'm up gigantic on.
Are you?
But I dollar cost averaged in on Riot
Yeah,
for
I know.
years.
See, that's the problem. I'm an all-in guy. Once I decide I want to get it, I just go because I don't take the time to, you know what I mean?
If you're going to pick a
Try
moment in time, if you've picked
bigger.
the wrong moment, then you're going to
I
lose
know.
money. That is the whole thing we talk about
I
endlessly.
you know I'm not good at this.
What confuses me about George is with cryptocurrency, he's methodical.
Oh, I
And
know. It's funny.
and yet with stocks,
Do you
you're
guys want to know
all
why?
emotion. It's incredible.
Well, when I buy crypto, I'm considering it a lost cause. When I buy Bitcoin, I'm just like, this it was really fun to buy it. It's a lost cause. I mean, I know it's not now, but it was that way for so long that I just felt that way. So I don't even like,
You've gotten into a mindset of dollar cost averaging, set it, forget it, and it's working for you. But you can't just for some reason the stocks are different for you. Also, I want to just take 1 second before the stream even started. We got a super chat. Thank you, the real Gary Ginsler. And Gary said, ETF with God candle incoming per me, the real Gary Ginsler. So,
you know
hey,
what?
listen.
I want to talk to you about DCA because I think I do um PCA. You know how you
Okay.
daily cost average? I profit cost average.
DCA is dollar cost averaging.
Right. Well, daily, whatever dollar. I'm profit cost average. So I'll get a little. I'll get rid of a little, and if it goes back down, I'll buy more.
So that's swing trading.
Oh, is it?
That's
What? I keep some. I never usually get rid of all of my position.
listen, nobody can say this strategy's right, that strategy's wrong. Everybody has a different
I'm up.
strategy, but you should stick to your strategy. And if you're gonna go all in on a stock in one day, and it's not just one day, it's at one moment, then a week and a half later, you can't say that stock's a failure. You
I
gotta
can
give
tell you
it
what.
some
I
amount of
know.
time.
I know, but it's just so hard. I mean, because doesn't it seem like it goes slower up than it goes down? It seems to go so much slower up,
What?
like, and
Just
then
wait. Just
when it
wait.
goes down. I know. I better. Trust me. I'm waiting.
And remember, well, this is how and retail investors, this is a big problem that we have. We have super ultra short-term memories. It was only a month ago, the month of December, every single day was Christmas if you owned the Bitcoin miners. Like
Right.
it was going up. It was unbelievable. We would have it. We 20%, 30%, 40%, 70%. I'm talking about stocks. These are 1 day performance for, any given Bitcoin miner on 10 different days in the month of December. Everything was through the roof. Now, the last 2 days of December, to be fair, the last 2 days of December, there was a little bit of a pullback, but these stocks, a lot of these stocks were up 100, 200, 300% just in the month of December. So these runs are vicious. So sometimes, yes, there's some consolidation. We go sideways, and I don't want to get into the leverage play conversation. And if somebody would prefer I use a different term, the Bitcoin miners are a multiplier. How about that? Maybe that'll make people feel happier. The Bitcoin miners have a multiplier effect on Bitcoin. So if Bitcoin does X, the Bitcoin miners over the course of time have tended to do 3X. And that goes to the upside or the downside. That is not a hard and fast rule. That is not exactly identical for every Bitcoin miner, but you should know if whatever level of volatility Bitcoin has, which is massive, the Bitcoin miners have significantly more volatility. Once again, on any given day, that won't always be true. And today actually is one of those days. Even though today was a fantastic green day for the Bitcoin miners, I'm going to go back to the Bitcoin chart here. I mean, this was a spectacular day. So if we look, I always have a gold line on my chart here. So for those of you who have been here for a long time, you know what this is. This is where Bitcoin was the last time the US equity markets closed. So over the weekend, that would go back to last Friday. So this is where Bitcoin was when the US equity markets closed on Friday. And I do that in order to compare apples to apples, if you will, because, you know, the Bitcoin miners are equity stocks, so they don't trade on Saturday. They don't trade on Sunday. So in order to compare the performance of Bitcoin versus the Bitcoin miners, you have to go back to the end of the previous trading day. So short story long, that's what that is. So if you go from this line where Bitcoin closed on Friday until now, you know, we're up almost 7%. So here's a day where, yes, this was a fantastic day for the Bitcoin miners, but in reality, they underperformed versus what they typically tend to do over the long course of time. So on this 7% up day, if we go to why this wasn't showing, but if we take a look, okay, so Bitfarms was up 9% today on a day that Bitcoin was up almost 7%. So up 9%. Here's the thing, you know, this is where, you know, you got to feel good. You got to take a win for a win. Up 9% is a fantastic day. So, you know, I'm not complaining. Just one moment, Chris Dominator. Thank you very much for the super chat. Chris Dominator said, Riot is #1 miner, the king, below July highs, just buy. So we'll look at that in a minute. Chris Dominator brings up a point. You know, this is one of the main things that we've been looking at on the channel is where are these Bitcoin miners in relationship to their highs that they hit in July of 2023. Some of the Bitcoin miners, now remember, Bitcoin is much higher than it was. At that point, Bitcoin hit just under 38,000 in July. At that time, that was the high for the year. Well, we're now at 47,000. So these Bitcoin miners, if they had performed properly, should be well beyond those highs. Some of them are. Some of them have taken out those highs and they're significantly above. Others have lagged behind and are still not there. So what Chris Dominator is saying is Riot's still below those highs. I'm gonna go look at Riot and show you.
Oh, by the way, we're also going to talk about how the market offering works with CleanSpark and how that all works, so you know when the dump's coming or the pump.
There's a lot of CleanSpark news. Yes, we got to talk. We will be talking about CleanSpark in a big way. 2 gigantic things happened for CleanSpark. We talked about this on the live stream on Friday. This played out absolutely exactly like we talked about.
They could be the smartest miner out there, just so you guys know. I am in shock. They have timed this perfectly.
And what's funny, remember, you were like, why would they do this at this time?
Now you know why.
And here's your answer. So we'll get to that. That is coming. We are definitely going to talk a lot about what CleanSpark did. They were the most active Bitcoin miner today as far as news. So just to take a look at Riot, you'll see back on July 14th, and this is basically the day that all the Bitcoin miners hit their high for the year in 2023. Riot, even after a nice day today, and Riot had a very nice day, 7.96% to the upside. It even outperformed Marathon a little bit. Marathon has been crushing Riot over the last 2.5 months. Today, you know, and Marathon had a good day too, up 7.71. So they were almost the same performance today, but a nice day from Riot. But even after this nice move to the upside, just to get back to where they were in July when Bitcoin was at $38,000, they need to go up almost another 30% from where they are right now. So that's just to get back to that number. You know, in theory, you would think if you think that Riot is a good company, then they should be much higher than that number. Now, there's a lot of other factors. There's stock dilution. There's operational performance, price of Bitcoin, difficulty level of the network, all those kind of things. But to compare and contrast, if I go to Bitfarms, this is Bitfarms July high. So Bitfarms in July was at here, this blue line at $2.16. So Bitfarms, even though they had a big pullback, as all the Bitcoin miners did over the last 7 or 8 trading days, today was an up day, but the previous 6 or 7 before that, almost every single Bitcoin miner was down. Bitfarms is 38% above its previous high. So you've got Marathon almost 30% below its July highs. So you can see there's differences. Not all of these Bitcoin miners are moving exactly in unison. And this is a critical point that we have been trying to drive home on this channel. There's going to be winners and losers, and all of these Bitcoin miners are not the same. In fact, for all of these things being in the same space and the same industry, it's absolutely remarkable just how different these business models are. So every single Bitcoin miner has their unique business model. And that's why we talk about do your due diligence, know your Bitcoin miner. They're not all the same. Some of these miners, I still think, even with this tremendous performance from Bitcoin, I still have, I think maybe 5 miners, give or take, that I think are in trouble. And, that doesn't mean they're necessarily going out of business, but I think some of them may end up in Chapter 11. Some of them may, just dramatically underperform as far as the stock goes. So while some of them may lag behind or even go into Chapter 11, I think others are going to have a gigantic run up. There are a bunch of Bitcoin miners that did a fantastic job of prepping for the halving. So those Bitcoin miners that have done the things over the last year to year and a half to get ready for this halving, I think the run has just begun for them. Quinn,
Tom, you are right.
Well, thank you, George. That is our opinion, of course.
Because you're a Buffalo Bills fan, just so you know. Sorry.
I want to say thank you to Quinn for the super chat. Quinn said, can we talk about Hive? Should I sell and buy another? So I'm going to talk about Hive limitedly. To be fair to the members, I did a members only deep dive on Hive today. So I spent a massive amount of time digging into Hive, and I did put out a members only video. So if you are a member, and I see a lot of members here, for those of you who are interested, you can become a member of the Talking Investing Squad. We partner with YouTube, so there should be a button right on YouTube that says join. We only charge $5 a month. It is a very small fee. If you're not interested, that's fine. But if you are interested, we have a spectacular group. We have once a week, we have a members only live stream. We have a members only Discord where, we have a lot of excellent conversation. Every once in a while, it gets a little bit overheated, but that's okay. It's good to have a healthy debate. And if you don't see that, I know there's a few platforms where you can't see that button. There should be a link in the description. So again, if you're interested, that's fantastic. We've got a great group. You're welcome to join us. It's only $5 a month. This is not something we're getting rich on, but we do provide a lot of extra content there. And if not, and you enjoy the channel, obviously for free, you can subscribe. And if you do enjoy this content, subscribing does help the channel out a lot. We are a very small channel. We've recently had a nice boost in membership, but we're still only, 18,000 subscribers. So.
And a few hundred members. I don't care if people know, do you?
Yeah, and we have a few hundred members. So we have a nice, right. We have an open Discord that have I think 12 or 1,300 people in it. We have we have a few hundred members, and it's a fantastic group. So I'll take just a minute to thank all of the members. I really appreciate your comments and thoughtful insights and all that kind of stuff. And this is a growing, building community. I think a lot of people are this is starting to be on people's radar. The Bitcoin miners, obviously Bitcoin is, having its time again where it's starting to get popular. Today was a big run up for Bitcoin. So it's days like today. And just, I went back to the Bitcoin chart. Bitcoin's running right now again as we speak, $47,212. So it's getting back towards its high for the day, which is its high for the year, which is its high for the last 21 months. And we are very close to, there's a line that we've had on here for almost 2 years. There's a line at, you'll see a green line at $48,240. I'm going to go to the 1 day, or else it'll take me an hour to scroll back there. This line goes all the way back to, you're going to see on March, I thought it was March 28th, March 28th, 2022. So that's early 2022. We're now done with 2022. We're done with 2023. Obviously we're in January of 2024. So, coming up on 2 years ago, Bitcoin had a little bit of a rebound. This was several months after Bitcoin peaked at the peak of the last bull market in November. Bitcoin had one last hurrah. It had a nice run up to this line at $48,240. From there, we entered the crypto winter where we stayed, and it was a brutal, rough crypto winter, as they always are. So we're almost all the way back here. And I do think this will be a very significant line to hit, because if we can get above this line and hold above this line, there's a giant trading range above this. So I'd love to get back into that next trading range. And that trading range obviously ends all the way up at $69,000, which is Bitcoin's all-time high. So I'm not saying we're on the brink of that and, expect that imminently, but I'll tell you, we are moving faster than I thought. I'm very bullish on Bitcoin. I have been. We've talked about this on the channel. If you can go back and watch the live streams and the deep dives, I think 2024 is going to be a very good year for Bitcoin. 2023 was a phenomenal year for Bitcoin. And I do think we will take out our all-time high, sometime in 2024. I just don't know exactly when that day will be. I want to catch a couple of these super chats. Jeff, who has been a member for, I think, from the beginning. I think we started this we started the channel 3 years ago, for those of you who don't know. We started the membership, well, Jeff's saying 16 months ago. Incredible. Jeff, thank you. Thank you for this super chat. Jeff said, join the membership. Been in since day one, 16 months. Thank you, Tom and George. You are welcome, Jeff. And
Thank
Jeff,
you.
we do, just so that you guys know, as I do these deep dives, a lot of them are recommendations from the members. That's how we do this. The members vote on what I should do a deep dive on. And Jeff was the 2022 king. He recommended a series of grocery store / supermarkets that was the trade of the year inside of our group. So even though we're very Bitcoin and Bitcoin miner focused, we do have a lot of other people that know a lot about other industries. And I think, Jeff, we kind of gave you the informal crown. That was the trade of the year inside of our group, inside of a year where we were in a Bitcoin crypto winter. And, so the crypto miners were getting wrecked. That was something that did very, very well. So thanks for the comment, Jeff. And also, I'm just seeing here, Jeff gifted 5 memberships. So members are able to gift memberships, just so that you guys know. YouTube then selects somebody on the stream and gives them a free membership for 1 month. So Jeff doesn't get to pick who that is, but he was nice enough to gift 5 memberships. So congratulations to those of you who received one of those memberships. Thank you, Jeff, and thanks for being with us for not just 16 months. I know you've been with the channel a lot longer than that. AG super chat, thank you very much, very much. And AG said, "Go Bills, go Packers." And he said your Hive video was great. So AG is a member, so he watched the members only Hive deep dive video. So I encourage you guys to watch that. Please watch that. Just for my own personal sanity, I did spend a lot of time digging through Hive. So there's a lot of information there. So for those of you who are not members, I mean, it's one where there's some nuances there. I have some optimism about Hive, but there's a lot of different things going on. They're not doing exactly the same thing as a lot of the other Bitcoin miners are. So,
I need to interject for a second, Tom.
Yes,
when
absolutely.
Tom tells you he does a deep dive, you guys don't understand Tom, and I got to explain it because no one likes to explain the type of person you are. You know what I mean? So Tom will take and spend I mean, every waking minute for days. Just like it's nothing you've ever seen before. Like he won't go to lunch with me. Just so you guys know, we haven't been to lunch since I've been back. He doesn't go to
Sorry,
lunch. He
George.
doesn't do anything. Yeah, it's okay. But that's what he does. He'll deep dive into these and he feels a strong commitment to get you the right information. Because guys, I'm going to tell you something. This has been going on all over the place. There is a lot of these guys don't know what the hell they're talking about. And I'm seeing it all over the place. And I'll call Tom. I go, Tom, did you read this? He goes, yeah, I read it. I go, what in the world are they saying? Do they even know? I give you a great example, and I'm not picking on anybody, and I'm not mentioning any names, but here's a great example. There's no correlation or very limited correlation between exahash and your market cap. Yes, it's important to some degree, but you shouldn't use that as your only barometer to go dump, money into a company. Again, we got to do our homework and make sure that we're doing the right things with our money, because I don't know about you, but I don't have enough and I need more and I don't want to lose it. And so when you see the situations that we're setting up, it looks too perfect right now, so it's going to get bumpy. Nothing goes perfect. So when Tom does a deep dive, he'll spend hours upon hours, if not days, into something. Like he did one. What was that, Tom? Where things just went absolutely crazy on the stock. I forgot what it was on. You're like, you need to buy this, and we were him and Han over it. And then before you know it, boom, pops 34%. I'm not saying that's going to always happen, and I'm not saying this is financial advice. I'm saying that you guys need to have a game plan of when you're getting in, when you're getting out, and how that's going to shake out. Because if you don't, you're going to get robbed. And I mean, literally robbed each and every time. And people don't even understand that.
And we've had deep dives that go in both directions. Sometimes when we dig into a stock, we find out, there's something we uncover here, and it's not good, and it's not insider information if you do your homework. But sometimes when there's bad news, these companies provide an enormous amount of information. Just reading a 10K from cover to cover, that can take a long time. Some of these 10Ks can be not just the financial statements, but the footnotes, management's discussion. These can be 150 pages long. So somewhere in the middle of there could be a bombshell. And if you don't see it and if you don't find it, so that's what I try to do. I do, somebody mentioned, I saw somewhere, I can't find it anymore, but somebody said I think to put it concisely, Tom's an accountant. My background's in public accounting. I'm not a CPA anymore, but I started my career that way and I practiced public accounting for several years. So, I made financial statements. And I've reviewed financial statements and I enjoy doing it. And I know a lot of people, first of all, most people do not have the time to do that. And so, I do spend a lot of time. To George's point, thank you for pointing that out, George. Like when I say I did a deep dive, it could be 6, 8, 10 hours. Sometimes it's 15, 20 hours. There have been a few times where it was even significantly more than that. So sometimes I deliver them a little later than expected because, there were a couple that took me 50, 60 hours. That's certainly not the average. I want to catch up. There were a bunch of super chats that, thank you, Jeff. Jeff gave a list, I think, of his supermarkets. I think he's still hot on the supermarkets. So I'll let you guys read his super chat. Thank you, Jeff, for those recommendations. I know a bunch of people a bunch of members did well off those trades. Brandon Shepard, thank you very much. Extremely generous super chat. Brandon said, a little cash for the local taco truck. Thanks for all your hard work. You are welcome, Brandon. And thanks again for the super chat. I'm just trying to catch up. Darren S., thank you very much for the super chat. Very generous. Darren said, George, I heard your stream chat Saturday with Crypto Fever. Much respect hearing you chat with no hinges on.
Yeah, I was a little nervous, Darren, that you didn't expect me. Listen, I think a lot of things.
I didn't hear that.
Yeah, I think a lot of things, and and just our channel is not a political channel. We don't care about politics at all at this channel. We care about making money, and so politics, leave it aside. We don't want these guys to steal your money. That's basically what it boils down to. I mean, there's going to
Oh,
be some great opportunities coming up. I mean, just unbelievable, more than you've ever seen probably in your life. But it could go the other way also.
that was your chat with one of our members. Crypto Fever is a
It was with
member.
Crypto Fever. Yes.
Okay. Well, so it sounds like Darren got in on that. Well, thank you, Darren, for pointing that out, and thanks for the super chat. Much appreciated. And Darren is a member and has been for a long time, so thanks for all your input. Delta Homie, thank you very much for the super chat. Delta is also a member. CleanSpark has delivered on everything they have said they would. Matt and Zach are literally going to be the best miner out there. Which brings us, we should get to what's going on with CleanSpark, because there was an awful lot of news today, but CleanSpark was.
Listen, hang on, and let me just tell you something that's really cool about those two guys, is we got to meet them both, and Tom knows them better than me. I mean, I just got to shake their hand, but they're just real everyday average guys. There's some other CEOs, we won't mention any names, of course, that are like try to be above you. These guys, I think, really want to do the right thing for their stockholders, and it's such a rarity to see. So,
and the Bitcoin mining executives, especially, in 2022 was a tough year for investors, and I understand people get frustrated, and a lot of the Bitcoin miners did take a lot of stock compensation, and I'll let everybody, decide on their own how they feel about that. But to George's point, we've met and talked to a lot of these executives inside the Bitcoin mining space, and I think they have been, they've come on the channel, and we've done interviews, and I've asked them. I'm not going to say zinger questions. I've tried to ask them real questions, not fluff, not top-sided stuff, and some questions that I didn't necessarily even expect they would answer. And I've gotten some answers from some of them. So, Matt and Zach have been great. I think I'm going to have Zach back on the channel shortly. We're going to do the next round of interviews. It's just been, it's been overwhelming. There's a lot going on, but I do want to have CleanSpark back on. They have a lot going on. I'd like to have, Bitfarms we talked to about coming back on, and several others. So, most of these guys, I will not name any names, just like George. There are a couple that are a little stuffy and, hesitant to answer questions and, not forthcoming.
And this is what I'll say, Tom, and I'll say this to everybody, and since you guys are all in the crypto land, you will appreciate this. You never know who has $10,000 in their wallet. I mean, 10,000 Bitcoins in their wallet. You don't know who does, and so you have to treat everybody like they have 10,000 coins in their wallet. And I think that's really important that you think that way, because, everybody should be treated with respect. And I hate it when you see these guys pandering to these certain individuals, because guess what? I think, Tom, is this true? Is retail stronger than hedge funds, or no? If we all got together?
No. Retail is not. Retail has, but
I
retail,
thought that would be a good one, but
retail has. Retail is growing in strength. It is a lot bigger numbers than people think. It's not. We're still not to the scale of institutional money and hedge funds, but there's a massive. We can move the needle, especially on smaller stocks. And if you're a CEO of any company, it's your job to communicate with the shareholders. And if you're not answering questions, if you're not being forthcoming, to me, as an investor or a potential investor, that's a turnoff. That would discourage me from maybe even investing in something that I would have otherwise invested in if I feel that management's not forthcoming, right? That's one of the key. If you were to list out the top 5 or 10 things that, were the most important to me as a potential investor, my comfort level in management's ability to, have the shareholders' best interest in mind, that's pretty high on the list.
So anyways, CleanSpark,
All right, let's talk
Now you,
CleanSpark.
now you guys get to hear the rest of the story. Sorry, go on.
I'm going to, before I do that, we have 250 likes. Thank you very much, everybody. If you have not smashed the like button, please smash the like button. Bitcoin here is hitting a 20-something month high. Let's see if we can hit a high here on our live stream as well. We appreciate it very much. Let's talk about CleanSpark because they had news during our live stream on Friday. We talked about this. And then sure enough, Monday morning, more news. So let's go through both of them. Give me just a second. I know I have these open in one of these windows here somewhere. Okay, number one. So this dropped on Friday. I don't think they put out a press release. I did not see one, but they had to file with the SEC. So CleanSpark put out a shelf offering, an at-the-market offering of up to $500 million. So this is a lot of dilution that will be coming over, the course of time. Typically, these are over the course of 24 months, and, they are able. So this gives them, they put the market on notice that they are authorized now to sell up to $500 million in shares of their stock. From time to time at a time of their choosing is typically the language that's in these. So, it doesn't mean on any given day. So
they probably sold this morning is what he's saying.
Here's what I'll say. What we talked about on the live stream and what one of my biggest money makers over the course of time, oftentimes the market has a knee-jerk reaction to these at-the-market offerings because they are stock dilution. People are terrified of stock dilution. And, not all stock dilution is created equal. If you are in an industry like the Bitcoin mining industry is, this is a capital-intensive industry. There's an awful lot of CapEx. There are two companies in specific, I'll talk about one of them today, that have to replace almost their entire existing fleet of Bitcoin miners. So that's just one cost. The infrastructure costs, beyond that are significant as well. You've got a company like Marathon. Marathon recently just made a $179 million purchase. They put out a press release. In that press release, they talked about how currently 97% of their machines are hosted by others. So they have to pay hosting fees on 97% of their operations. They want to change that. They have made a fundamental change in philosophy, but to get from point A to point B, where they are self-hosting all their machines, is going to take a massive amount of money, a massive amount of time to either acquire or build that infrastructure. So some of these other companies have done that along the way and, everything in between. And that's why I say there's a lot of different business models. So, Marathon is looking to switch. This deal they made ultimately could get them to 45%, self-hosted versus paying hosting fees. And they talked about saving 400 basis points. So, that's kind of indirectly telling us that their hosting fees are about 4%, if we were to extrapolate from that. So they're making that change. CleanSpark has a lot of their own infrastructure, but they are buying, they're about to get to 16 exahash. So they are currently at 10.08 exahash. They spent all the money already to get to 16 exahash. So they spent the money on the Bitcoin machines. They ordered the machines. They're getting delivered. They've actually been delivered, I think. They've run into a little bump in the road. They expected to have them up and running. So they're about to get to 16 exahash. They've also purchase ordered machines to get to 20 exahash beyond that. So that's all before this. So then on Friday, they come out with a $500 million at the market offering. These are big numbers for what are, very small market cap companies. The market cap of CleanSpark has grown drastically, but even with that growth, I think we looked at this on Friday. I think coming into 2023, this was about a $170 million market cap company. They were around $2 billion, by the end of the year. So, that's tremendous growth in their market cap. They did do a lot of dilution to get there, but they grew massively. They're about to get to 16.5 and then 20 exahash. But now here's another $500 million. But so the knee-jerk reaction for the market is a sell-off. It's almost without exception. When one of these is announced, there's an immediate sell-off. So I talked about the fact that in general, this is some of the best buying opportunities I've ever had throughout my investing, life. And in specific with the Bitcoin miners, we just went through this with Bitfarms. They put out, and they did a private offering and raised money. So we talked on the channel that their stock dipped. And, so I kind of said, for me, I backed up the truck. That was a big buying opportunity.
I got an idea of what I'm going to do. You guys are going to think I'm nuts, but I'm going to do it. So tomorrow morning, I'm going to wait because I have a feeling. So who's ever selling these shares is selling it just like a job. It's his job, right? His job is to come in, log in, sell the I'm going to say coin, sorry. Sell the stock, right? And then when he sells the stock, then he's done for the day. So he's not trying to value shop or anything like that. He's dumping the shares probably first thing in the morning, and then everybody accumulates them and they go up. So tomorrow I'm going to buy, I don't know, let's say 500. I'll buy 500 shares tomorrow, and I will sell them at the end of the day. Watch. I'm going to do that all week long, by the way, guys.
Let's see what happens. Lately there has been a dip in the morning.
Yep.
And then a recovery, throughout the rest of the day. That's been, a very short-term trend. That has been what's going on. And today was no exception. And with Cleanspark, it was drastically exaggerated. Yeah. So I'm going to end up with the chart. But so this was on Friday, and I talked about the fact that this would be a buying opportunity for me if there was a big pullback. So then fast forward to this morning. Before the market opens at 9 a.m. Eastern time, we get this. Cleanspark announces strategic agreement for up to 160,000 Bitmain S21s. These are the latest and greatest. We'll go through the specs, but the joules per terahash, the efficiency of these machines is significantly better than even the XPs, which is the vast majority of the new machines that companies have bought over the last 18 months have been the XPs, which were the 19s. The S21s are significantly more energy efficient than that, which is going to be crucial, post-halving. This says this gives them a path to 50 exahash. I'm going to dial that back a little bit and be more specific. Initial batch of 12 exahash or 60,000 units expected to ship next quarter. So I want to go through that because remember, they're about to sometime, according to them, if all goes as planned, sometime in the next 40 days, they're about to get to 16 exahash. They already have purchase ordered to get to 20 exahash. So that's 20. This 12 exahash, or these first 60,000, you can see here I've highlighted, if you can, well, let me scroll up, April through June of 2024. So the first 60,000 units with delivery expected of April through June 2024. So they're giving us a clear path here. They're at 10, they're about to go to 16, then they're going to go to 20. And by June of 2024, if all goes well, they'll be at 32 exahash. Now, I will caution everybody, as we've talked about always, typically it's very hard to hit these deadlines perfectly. And there are other things that this company is going to need to do to get there because they do not have the infrastructure currently to support 32 exahash. So that's another piece of this puzzle that they're going to have to put in place. So I don't know that it's going to be exactly June 30th that they're going to be at 32 exahash, but I would expect, even if you zoom out just a little and say, listen, sometime between now and the end of the year 2024, Cleanspark's going to get from the 10.08 exahash that they're at today as we speak to 32 exahash. I mean, that's a triple. So this is a company that, they put themselves, there are 3 companies, and there are several other companies that have had massive press releases and have gigantic growth plans. And I suspect there's a lot more to come. But right now, they're talking about getting to 50 exahash. We have Marathon, Riot, and Cleanspark all have outlined a plan to get to at least 50 exahash. So that doesn't mean they all have purchase ordered machines to get to 50 exahash. CleanSpark has, Riot has, Marathon has not yet, but they're already at 24.7. They've got 7 more on the way. That's going to put them over 31 imminently. So, and they did say they plan to get to 50. Go ahead,
You
George.
know what's so funny about this is that basically Riot said the same thing, but they did it at the wrong time, and their thing got hammered for it, and they haven't done anything to update us since they said that they're getting to 100 exahash, right?
I think it was a mistake for, yes, but I do think it was a mistake for Riot to jump. I won't say it's a mistake. Riot was in a tricky spot. They locked down options to get all the way to 100 exahash. So I think the market, you know, we've had some of these press releases that, you know, seemed a little bit too good to be true, and it lacked specificity on how they were going to get to 100. I think they should have focused more on how they were going to get. Riot has a very clear plan on how they're going to get to 38 exahash. By the way, I did do a deep dive on Riot like 1 or 2 days ago. So if you have not seen that, I recommend watching that because, again, you know, I did an extensive deep dive on exactly what they plan to do over the next, 12 to 18 months. I wish they would have focused.
That's a great example, though, of just how it's so important to deliver your message.
That's right. These press releases, this communicating with your investors or potential investors, we've talked a lot on the channel about how, I think a lot of these Bitcoin mining companies have some room for improvement on their communication with their investors. So some of these companies are doing great things. They've executed on a lot of their plans. We always talk about, we look for companies that do what they say they're going to do. This is a unique industry. The Bitcoin miners, there's 16 or 17 Bitcoin miners that put out monthly operations. So every single month we get an update on what their company is doing. Now, there's different levels of details in those. Some are more detailed and specific than others, but at a minimum, they typically all tend to tell us how many Bitcoin they mined in the month, where their exahash is, and several other things. So we get frequent updates with these Bitcoin miners, but the press releases that they tend to put out, sometimes they say things that are unclear or almost seem to be, I don't want to say contradictory. They're all over the place. And I do think, like, George started out by saying, Riot delivered this message at the wrong time. I think they might have delivered a little bit of the wrong message at the wrong time. And their stock lagged a little bit because of that.
Well,
so
it's still lagging because
I hope
of it.
It is. And not just because of that. Their performance.
Well, I know the performance is bad, but I mean, you start adding them up, you know what I mean, and you just flush them down the toilet. Like somebody said, the Grandmaster. Oh, Flash. I thought you said the Grandmaster Flush. That's what right.
I'm not going to say their performance is awful, but they have some issues. There's a lot of fantastic things about Riot. Some of the things about Riot, make them the strongest Bitcoin miner in the industry. Some of the things, they're subpar and they need improvement on. Mostly, I think we need answers to a few questions. So,
not for nothing, and let's toot our own horn because we can. But CleanSpark's an open book. They're like, come on over. We know Isaac. I mean, Isaac's their he's like their media personnel, and Tom is very good friends with Isaac, and they're say, hey, come on over. You want to walk through? You want us to show you stuff, and then the guy doesn't even put a video out, but it's real and it's really cool how it's set up. And like Jason doesn't even have that person, or if he does, do you know him? Because I don't know him.
I don't know him. And to clarify what George is saying, this is not insider information. They're an open book. They welcome people to come and walk through their facilities, look at what they're doing, right? They gave us a tour. They'll give you a tour if you call and ask. And,
I don't know if they give everybody a tour.
I don't know the answer to that.
It's a marketing ploy. You know what I mean? they want their exposure out there to show that they have a really good data center, what happens to be, producing Bitcoin.
Right. They have more transparency. That's one, whatever you're in, and particularly in investing, you want your company to have transparency. There's a lot of companies. I'll give you an example. People are asking about Hive. I thought Hive made a gigantic's the wrong word. I thought Hive made a mistake. They have been reporting their HODL position every single monthly operation for years. 2 months in a row, late in 2023, they did not report their HODL position. So as an investor or potential investor, what am I to assume? Well, I'll tell you what the market assumes. The market does not like uncertainty. So what the market assumes is, I don't know how many Bitcoin they have. Maybe it's zero, right? I mean, that's on the table. If you don't tell us how many it is, could be zero. Maybe they had to sell everything. Maybe they're in trouble. I don't know. Why would they report this every single month and then stop reporting it altogether? Well, now they did report that. They told us how many they had at the end of the year. And if you watch my deep dive, they got a lot more specific than that. So I think they've cleaned up that mistake, but I do think that was a mistake. And I think it's one of the reasons their stock lagged for a little while. There was some stuff like that where, you got to remain transparent, even if it's bad news, and which is what I'm thinking. I think Riot has a few things that, they got some issues that they may be working through. I'd rather hear about it and hear what their plan is to clean it up, or know, okay, this is never going to get any better, or we're going to have to, whatever the case may be. Knowing's better than not knowing. So, I just think there's some information that they could provide that would make shareholders feel better. And we need to see some improvement in operational performance. There are several Bitcoin miners, and CleanSpark, in my opinion, is one of them, that have continuously, month in and month out for the last couple of years, operated at an extremely high level. Oh, I want to welcome, it looks like we have 2 new members. So let me just take a minute. Andy Aussie, welcome to the Talkin' Investing Squad. Thank you so much for joining. I hope you enjoy the content. There are a bunch of members only videos that you can take advantage of. Several of them lately have been on Bitcoin miners. So, some Bitcoin miners, there's just not enough interest in the general public. They're smaller or less popular. So, we tend to do those in the membership. So welcome, Andy, and welcome, pardon me if I pronounce this wrong incorrectly. Welcome, Ari Ree. Welcome to the Talking Investing Squad. Same thing. I hope go take a look at some of the content. Of course, finish watching the stream first, but afterwards, there's plenty of content there ready and waiting for you. You can join the chat. And today is Monday, so tomorrow is our regularly scheduled members only live stream. So you guys are welcome, and please join us on the members only live stream. We do talk about some other stuff, on the live stream with members. And hopefully tomorrow's another green day. Let's get back to the Bitcoin miner chart in the background so that we can see what's going on there. Make sure we're not missing anything. Bitcoin
Tom,
is current. Go ahead.
As you do that, before you do that, can you answer this one question? Because I've gotten it a lot. Is this sell the news or buy the news with the ETF? I know my answer, but I want to hear yours.
Let me first, I'm going to answer that question. I first want to just say from Crypto Fever, thank you very much for the super chat. Very much appreciated. Crypto Fever said, Tom, how about an interview with Riot and Windex Shine? Jeez. And with Jason Less, with some hard questions like, do they understand their curtailment is about to cause CleanSpark to pass them in second place? CleanSpark, Mara, Riot. So I am going to reach out to Jason. I have 2 or 3 questions that I'm going to, and I don't know if he'll give us meaningful answers. I did ask him. I have 2 issues. I think there's 2 things they need to give us clarity on. One is they do tend to lag in efficiency as far as their Bitcoin mining operations go. And that's just as a straight number. How many Bitcoin do they mine per exahash that they have? And to answer somebody's question, You know, somebody asked, well, you know, is it lagging behind because they had that damage and, you know, some of it's not up and running? Everything's back up and running. They have 12.4 energized exahash of Bitcoin miners. They're just mining at a little bit lower efficiency. Maybe he's going to come out and say, you know what? This is a string of bad luck. Now, I don't think people are going to love that answer, but I will tell you, in the short term, luck is a fact in Bitcoin mining. So that's how Bitcoin, if you understand how blocks get mined, luck is a factor. And there are companies that have unlucky months and lucky months. And you can only look straight to Marathon to see an example of that. They have had both, and they're a more shining example because they have their own pool. So you can see exactly what they're doing. You know, they performed, I'm not going to take anything away from them. Their December was out of this world. Their performance was spectacular. But on top of all of that, they also got very lucky. And again, that's not a negative comment. For those of you who watched my video, I think their December performance, their December operation report was an A+. There's a lot of stuff going on with that company. Again, some good, some things I think that they need improvement on. But, you know, December was out of this world. But in addition to that, they just, you know, it was the luck went in their favor. So it took great numbers and made them even better. So is Riot, you know, are they going to tell us that, you know, it's the opposite? And if you're going to tell us that, we can only believe that story for so long. I think there's more to the story, but I don't know. We should have Jason on and ask him and see if he can give us some insight into these questions.
Yes, we should ask them.
LB,
Tom, what? You got it. Go ahead.
LB said, Tom, what's your opinion on Cypher? So Cypher did, you know, they picked up steam at the end of the day today. They were lagging all day long today. In fact, they were in the red for a good portion of the day. I have no reason why that is. I'll go to a press release they put out late last week. I do think their story's a little harder to understand. They do have some joint venture stuff, and the accounting on that is tricky. I think that hurts them from an investment standpoint. Ultimately, it will sort itself out, but I like Cypher. I think they are one of the companies, you know, I've been talking about there was going to be winners and losers. I think they will be one of the winners. There's a lot of good stuff about Cypher. I have not done a deep dive on Cypher for the public. You know, drop in the chat if that's something that you guys would be interested in. But there's a lot going on with Cypher. They have big growth plans, very big growth plans. They have excellent cost per coin. I like what they're doing. Let me go see if I still have this open somewhere. And I'll just talk real briefly.
Oh, and if you wouldn't mind, could you talk about Core too? Because they had some information today came out. Do you know or no?
I read that, and I will tell you again,
Okay.
I can't shed a lot of clarity on that.
Okay.
Okay. Where is this? Well, in any event, they added a bunch of Core added a bunch of infrastructure and exahash, but they did so as a part of a joint venture that they're in, and that joint venture shows up. They use the equity method of accounting for that. I think they're a minority. They have a minority interest. They're a 49% interest in that joint venture. So all those numbers show up on their balance sheet, and then it just shows up as one number, not inside of their operations as, you know, gain or loss on investment versus, so a lot of the Bitcoin that they mine don't show up in their top line revenue numbers. And so excuse their picture a little bit. So I don't know. I don't think that's going to, over the long term, I don't think that's going to hold them back. In the short term, I have no idea if that's why they're underperforming a little bit. But I think that's a great company. So I think they will be one of the winners. Not financial advice, obviously. But I do have a little, that's one of my small positions. Again, we will never tell you to buy a stock, sell a stock, whatever the case may be, because everybody is different. You know, everybody's portfolio is different. Everybody's time frame is different.
So, risk appetite too. Don't forget that one.
Thank you, George. That's might be one of the most important ones inside of the Bitcoin mining world is your your risk tolerance and your risk appetite, because these
I got no
are
risk. I'm scared.
these are high volatility stocks. They're just very high volatility stocks. I'll say it, they're leveraged plays on a highly volatile asset. Welcome to another new member. Gonna make me say it. Stank face.
Stank.
Welcome to the Talkin' Investing
Welcome.
Squad. Thank you so much for joining. I appreciate it. Please check out the content. First and foremost, we did just put a members only video out today on Hive blockchain. So I think you'll get your $5 worth right there if checking that one out. And then please join us on the live stream, the members only live stream tomorrow. So welcome aboard and thanks for joining.
So you see this poll, Tom?
Yeah, let's take a look at the poll results. Yeah, I kind of holy cow. First of all, this is the most votes we've ever gotten in a poll. So thank you everybody for participating. Also, if you just got here or have not yet, please smash the like button. It makes a gigantic difference for the live stream and it is much appreciated. So if you have access to, please smash the like button. If you're new here, if you are interested in Bitcoin and the Bitcoin miners, that's pretty much all we talk about here. So consider subscribing to the channel if you're interested. Of course, it's free to subscribe and it helps the channel out a lot. All right. So the poll, are we going to get a Bitcoin spot ETF on or before January 10th? We ran this poll on Friday. I will tell you, this is a dramatically improved percentage, right? On Friday,
it's amazing how a few days just will change everybody's mind, isn't it?
It is. It's Friday was of all the times we've run this poll in the last month or month and a half, Friday actually was the least optimistic that people have been over the last, let's just say, month to round it off. I think it ended up at 66% thought yes. Well, that is now up to 76%. So that's a dramatic. We're now more than 3/4 of you think by January 10th. And today's January 8th. I mean, today's over from a business standpoint here in the US. So that leaves 2 more days. So optimism is high that we're going to get a Bitcoin ETF. I have one more big reason that
no, I have 2. You have 2. You tell yours, I'll tell mine.
All right, you got it. So there's a couple of other reasons we have not yet even talked about that I think are indicators that this Bitcoin spot ETF is coming on Wednesday. So I've been the ultimate skeptic. I have said for months and months and months, I do think we will get a Bitcoin spot ETF before the halving. But I was very skeptical on January 10th just because there was so much consensus around that date. And typically every time the retail investors have consensus on something, the opposite happens. But I will tell you, I've been converted. I really think there's a really high I think there's a really, really good chance that we get this spot ETF on January 10th. And if we don't, I don't think it will be long after until we get one. It really seems like, everything is pointing towards that. And this thing we've been waiting for this process started a long time ago. And I think, we could be 2 days away. I would just caution everybody. I've watched several of the videos and I've seen the thumbnails. Bitcoin spot ETF confirmed, 100%, happening. Nobody knows the answer to that. So, please don't make investment decisions because somebody told you they knew some secret information. There are no YouTubers out there that know any information like that. There's plenty of great YouTubers, but they do not have an inside direct line to Gary Gensler. And that's who's making this decision. So, we're all trying to put pieces of the puzzle together. I'm getting more and more optimistic. We'll tell you a few more pieces of the puzzle that we're seeing, but nobody knows the answer. We'll find. Good news is we're going to find out in 2 days. So let me just get to a couple of these and then let's start a new poll. George, You get
Oh,
to
I got to
pick
give you my
the
reason.
next poll. All right, well, go ahead.
My reason is because USDT, which is Tether, which I'm not a fan of, but they just printed another $2 billion worth of tokens. And every time they've done that, guess what's happened to Bitcoin?
Bitcoin goes up.
Yeah, it pumps. So
You've got a
that's just another
correlation
reason.
between newly minted USDT
Yep.
and a pump in Bitcoin. Well,
Yes.
let me ask you this. Was today the pump, or you think this is just the beginning, more to come?
I think this is the beginning because of Mr. Crypto Fever. I'm not giving crypto advice or financial advice. This is my own opinion. But I'm going to tell you something. I think it's going to be real interesting because people forget. They always say there's 21 million Bitcoins. Well, that's incorrect. There is not 21 million Bitcoins anymore because so many people have lost their Bitcoin.
Right.
So, I mean, I heard as many as 15 to, excuse me, 5 to 6 million Bitcoins could be gone forever.
Yeah, and nobody knows the answer. So, anything that you
Yeah.
see, remember, it's just somebody's best educated guess at best, if not just a random guess. But most of what we see out there on the low end, people think that 4 million Bitcoin are lost forever. I've seen numbers as high as 7 million. I feel like that's probably real high. If my guess is somewhere around 4 million are gone. And remember, those aren't going to get found, and the only thing that's going to happen is more will be lost. And once they're lost, they're gone. So there's a very limited supply. I do want to take a minute and welcome a new member, and thank you for a super chat. So first, Lee, thank you very much for the super chat. Very generous, much appreciated. Lee said, Jesus coin is rising and blessing. Please research. God bless. Thank you, Lee, for the sentiments. And George, you've looked at this coin a couple of times. Lee has mentioned this, and so I don't know if you want to check it out and see. But
yeah, I actually did. It's actually pretty interesting. It's been a good return. And the other thing was, Lee, I saw your Twitter, and I followed you on Twitter too.
Oh,
I thought that
nice.
was interesting. Yeah, but yeah, it's real interesting to see. It's a decent market share. I mean,
Is this something you can see how it's doing like today and this week while I'm doing this, or is that?
Yeah, go ahead. I'll do it right now.
All right, so we'll scope that out. Thank you,
the
Lee,
only
for putting
problem
that
that
on
I
everybody's
have
radar.
with when you say Jesus coin, it brings up Jesus coin, Jesus coin, Jesus coin, Jesus finance, and then Jesus and Jesus and Jesus token and Jesus on Solano, I guess, and Jesus
What are you saying? There's
INC
multiple
and
coins
Jesus
that.
2.0. Yeah, there is multiple, but I kind of believe so I don't know which one you're promoting or which one is your coin, but I just pick on the first one because I'm lazy.
I would pick the biggest one.
Yeah, and
That
that
would
was the
be the
one I
main
think,
one.
right? And so they all trade under, the symbol Jesus. And 90 days, they're up 421%, and their market cap is still trying to find that. Hang on, I have small eyes. 39 million. So it's not terrible.
So very small,
Yeah.
very small token. So it sounds like it's having a big return right now, but
So
always, of course, please be careful trading in any small token, small cap
so one
stock,
of the
etc.
things I do when I go into crypto, just in case FYI, if anybody's interested, and if you're not, I'm sorry. But what I do is I try to see who has what where. Meaning, I want to see their wallets and I want to see where the coins are. Are they allocated? Are they, locked up in an escrow? Is there, is there some demand for it from other people? If you just have, a coin out there that's just trading between two wallets, obviously, that's not too good. You need to have a massive adaptability, and then there has to be a great use case for it, because
Right.
unfortunately, there are a lot of coins out there that aren't going to be here in a few days.
Right. If you want to have a long-term high quality coin, there needs to be some underlying fundamentals and a use case, just like a stock. Just want to take one more second. We did get another new member. So welcome to Ben.
Mark.
Thank you very much for joining the Talking Investing Squad.
Yes.
Welcome aboard.
Ben.
Please also, again, go check out that Hive deep dive. And I hope you will join us tomorrow on the members only live stream. I'm going to put,
I'm
go
going to
ahead,
give
George.
you. I'll be in a class tomorrow online, but I'll still do. I'll still do the member stream.
Just
They won't ever
don't
know.
say which one. They're not gonna give you your credit.
My certificate. Yeah, I have to do continuing education. It's crazy because I got to do like 2 weeks of continuing education every single year.
Let me end this. I'm gonna end this poll. I have a new poll, so let's get that up, and then also going to mention Darren S said Gensler dropped a hint on X today that an ETF is coming. So that was not one of my two. So that sounds like something's going on there. I didn't see that. Check that out. All right, so final, we're very optimistic. This is our most optimistic poll in a while. 76% of you that voted, which was 573 people, think that we will get an ETF on or before this Wednesday, 2 more business days. That's number one. So now,
as you do that, before you do that, somebody asked me about marathon, and I got to tell you guys something because you're being shocked, because I am in shock too, even though I did it. Marathon is my largest position out of any stock. I wanted something that was stable and isn't going to let me down and is going to be here no matter what. And unfortunately, it ended up being Marathon.
So that is now your new number one largest position.
Yes.
Do you own more Marathon or more, and you don't have to answer this if you don't want to, more Marathon or more Bitcoin? Meanwhile, let me post this poll.
You know the answer. That's why I'm not answering that.
All right. So, will Bitcoin hit a new all-time high in 2024? So the halving is in April of 2024. The Bitcoin's never hit a new all-time high prior to the halving. Now, remember, this is a super small sample group. This is the 4th halving. So, you know, there's a lot of these Bitcoin always does this or Bitcoin never does that. You know, all that means is the last 3 times. So I wouldn't put too much stock in that. And as George alluded to earlier, never depend on just one data point or one, one anything. You know, you got to do your due diligence overall. I assume something's going on in the chat that I'm not
just reading it
privy to.
Chris Dominator, he's just ripping on me. No, George, because I'm in Marathon. That's my largest position. And guys, just so you know, I hated Marathon in 2022, and I use the word hate. They really pissed me off. They were just they were nasty. And I didn't think they were going to make it. And Tom and I were argue about what would it be considered, Tom, when they sold their stock to pay off the little.
They had convertible debt. Is that what you're referring to?
Yes.
So yes, they had convertible
debt. And they got rid
debt.
of it because it was going to make them go out of business. And I won't tell Tom. We won't get into it again. But
that's not true.
We're not going to get into this fight again.
That's not even a
crazy,
thing. Nope.
What's so funny is that in 2022, we fought with everybody on the channel because we all had our convictions and we all were pissed because these guys were so underperforming. So this has been hell for us, guys. And if you are new to our channel, welcome. But if you've been in this, you know what I'm talking about. This is not going to be, we're going to 100 with Marathon. That's not going to happen tomorrow. But it could happen this year. I don't know. I'm feeling better every day. What do you think about those apples, Tom?
I'm looking at Crypto Fever saying, I can vouch that Tom wasn't Mara's #1 fan. Well, that has been true. I do on the big 3 or 4, I do a monthly update on these and have, so, you know, I've done an awful lot of Marathon videos. There were months where their operational performance was not good. And Crypto Fever might be more specifically indicating to the fact that they converted $417 million of convertible debt. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this, but this is what he's talking about. They converted $417 million of convertible debt, and they converted that to equity. At the time, it was at a premium to their stock price. It is now already only a few months later, they converted that at what is now a deep discount. And that was my point. Why on earth are you converting this today? It wasn't due for like they had 3 years and 3 months before it was due. It's 1% interest, which is that is the best loan on earth. So what was the rush to convert it at such a low share price? Unless, unless nothing, I don't know. There's going to be some other piece of information that comes out.
There's other reasons.
Whatever those reasons are, and listen, Fred's the CEO of Marathon. Management gets to make that call. I got nothing to do with it. So, the next time I own a $5 billion Bitcoin mining company, I can make those decisions. In the meantime, all I can do is, be the peanut gallery here on the sidelines. But I will tell you, it is absolutely, absolutely mystifying to me. And I don't think I will ever understand why they did that. Having said that, it's not having a negative effect on their company at all. I just think they wasted some money. I think it cost them a couple $100 million by the time it's said and done with is how it's going to work out in hindsight. But, again, what do I know?
Well, I can tell you another thing too, and this is so true, guys. And if it's coming out of our mouths today, it might change in 5 minutes. Here's a great example. Live on the stream on Friday, we get information about CleanSpark, right? And it changes the whole dynamics of the stock and what's going to happen to the movement of it. And it was real interesting to see because almost immediately it plummeted. And I think so the reason why I thought it would get to $8 again is because on Friday it hit, after hours it hit it. And that's why I was like, oh my God, it's going to do the same thing on Monday, which it didn't do.
It went down on Friday. It went down 5% after hours. This morning, it was down 10% after hours.
I thought it would get me $8 and something, Tom. It just didn't get it. But so what I was,
and that's fine. That was was your plan,
right?
And
but my whole
that's
point
good.
to all this is everything's fluid in this business, in investing, especially in investing, because dude, there could be. I hate to say this, there could be a war tomorrow. They could declare war any minute now, at any day, and that could change the whole dynamics of Bitcoin, the stock market, and everything. I mean, so just realize that's why we try to do these streams as quickly as we can when we see activity going on, and especially with ETF, which is going to be the largest amount of money in a single day event in Bitcoin's history. I don't think it's ever going to happen again. I don't see how it could ever happen again. So this could be the mothership of all the rocket is getting ready to explode, and bam.
There could be a gigantic, gigantic candle up on that day. There could be a gigantic candle down. I'm going to show you what I'm personally doing about that. I will get to that in a few minutes. Please remind me.
Strategy option time.
Eduardo, welcome. We also have another new member. Welcome to the Talkin' Investing Squad. Thank you so much for joining. I hope you enjoy the content. I hope you join us on the live stream tomorrow. Chuck, who is a member, said, weren't we convinced that Marathon would go out of business? I will tell you, Chuck, and I think George may have said that, but I have been very, very, very adamant. Even in the months where I didn't like what Marathon was doing, I didn't think they were performing from an operational standpoint well. I don't like what they did with their convertible debt, but I've always been crystal clear. Their financial statements are, there's two companies that have separated themselves. Their financial statements are so strong. I never thought there was any legitimate chance that they could ever go out of business in the next several years. So nothing's impossible. Some other thing we know nothing about could have happened, but business as usual. To me, this was never a company that was on my list of having any legitimate chance that, you would worry about them going out of business.
Well, I can tell you that you are right, correct. Now, you can honestly say that statement now. Yes, I agree with you.
DEFCON 2 said, Tom, Fred mentioned in an interview that he wanted a stronger balance sheet and it's better to owe $300 million than $700 million in 2026. I just vigorously disagree with that. And here's why. Because let's just say he did this same exact transaction today, right? We're only 2.5 months later. If he did this today, he could have done it for double the price. So he didn't have to wait until 2026. He could have waited, 2, 3 months, 6 months, whatever the case may be. Like there was no urgency to do this. And he already lost, $150 million versus had he done that transaction today instead of when he did it just a few months ago. So I know that's his answer. Those are the words he's using. I'm just not buying it. That's all I can tell you. That is my opinion. And I'm bullish on Marathon. By the way, for those of you who think that, I'm saying I don't like Marathon, they're going to be one of the big winners in my opinion. So, I'm very bullish on what they're doing. I just don't get what they did on this one thing.
I have a question, Tom, and this is to the new members. Do our lives that we did, do those stay recorded for the members to listen to, the new members?
Yes. So yeah,
okay.
I mean, there's probably 100 videos you'll get access to if you jump in.
So one of the things we've been doing, and this was at the end of December, beginning of January, is we went through and we went through what companies we thought were going to forex, and which companies we thought were going to do that the quickest. This was pretty interesting stuff, I honestly think, because we really, kind of go into them deeply to understand what they're doing and what their positions are and what happens with Bitcoin, goes to this level and who's going to do what. And I'm feeling more confident as, this ETF approaches. Whether even if it does happen, this week or not. If it doesn't happen this week, we can expect a pull back, and that could be an opportunity, at least for me, to jump in a few other things to hopefully make some more money.
If there's a dip, if we get an ETF and there is a dip, my opinion, and I do think that is entirely possible. My opinion is it will be very short-lived, and I don't know if that means, like this morning's dip was very short-lived. You could measure it in hours. I don't know if this can be hours, days, weeks, but I
don't think it's going to be years anymore. So that's
no. And here's the thing: the Bitcoin Spot ETF, by the nature of what it is going to forever change the supply-demand equation on Bitcoin. This will cause constant demand pressure on Bitcoin as people enter the ETFs. The ETFs are required. That's hence the spot ETF versus the futures ETF that already exists. The ETFs need to hold the underlying asset, which in this instance is Bitcoin. So that is not only going to put continued pressure on Bitcoin, but as they continue to buy the Bitcoin up, it's going to take supply off of the off chain and off the market. So, to me, in the medium term and long term, it's a huge, huge event that is going to, in my opinion, be one of the reasons Bitcoin, continues its bull run, and I think has a chance of having a better cycle this time than it had last time when we ran up to 69,000. The run up to the peak continues to be a little bit less with each cycle. So, a lot of people are expecting that trend to continue. I actually think there's a real legitimate chance that we'll actually do better this cycle than we did last cycle. If not, maybe it'll be similar. Maybe it'll be a little less. And any of those numbers, you're still talking Bitcoin 120, 140, 160,000. I think we could do better than that. Again, that's my opinion. There's no guarantee. We'll do a poll on that and see what you guys think about that. But I just think there's several reasons why we could have a very good bull market. And, the bull market hasn't really, traditionally speaking, at this point in the cycle, it hasn't even really started yet. So, all this run up is, I don't want to say bonus, but, we're just getting going if things go the way they have gone in the past. But to George's point, this is a volatile world. This, Bitcoin, cryptocurrency, very volatile. We're going to get good days. We're going to get awful days. 20% pullbacks in Bitcoin are like business as usual. And by the way, we're long overdue for one. So, that's one of the reasons why I do think there is some chance that in the super short term, we'll have a sell-off. But by the same token, if you watch YouTube and listen to YouTube or read the thumbnails, you'll see everybody's BlackRock's going to buy $2 billion worth of Bitcoin in the first day and this and that. And, there's a lot of people getting extremely excited about January 10th. So that does give me some amount of pause in the short term, but does nothing to change my conviction on Bitcoin and the Bitcoin miners that I'm invested in the medium to long term.
I just posted something from Crypto Fever told me about. It's really cool. It's called Fiat Leak. And this is a virtual heat map where you see where the crypto is going in real time. If you guys are interested in that, I just thought it was really neat to see.
Edmund said, Iris Energy, stock ticker IRIN will never go out of business. They are building terrific facilities. And somebody earlier, I think it might have been Crypto Fever, said, and I'm going to paraphrase because I can't go that far back, but they basically said if I could pick one Bitcoin miner that was not going to go out of business ever, it would be Marathon.
Well, there's no sense of going backwards. I go forward.
You always got to move forward. Hello, Keith. Keith is here. He said hello to everybody. And hello again to all of our members. Thank you, guys. I see a lot of you in the chat. Thanks for being here. So my other reason, and this is totally anecdotal, and, you can disagree with me. Let me know in the chat if you disagree. There are two stocks that are red today. So if you look at the board here, Argo Blockchain's down 9.5% today. There's a very specific reason for that. They did a stock dilution. So they issued, I think it was, well, let's go. Let's spend 30 seconds here. Got this. Oh, I got this somewhere. Okay. Argo Blockchain announces $9.9 million, and somewhere in here they say, okay, this was 7.06% of their existing outstanding shares. So they had a stock dilution today, and as a result of that dilution, their share price was down, and they were one of two stocks on my board that are red. Now, due to popular demand and a year and a half of people strongly asking me to include MicroStrategy on this list, I follow MicroStrategy as well on my Bitcoin miner list. Now, obviously, they are not a Bitcoin miner, but historically, they've traded very much like the Bitcoin miners. They are certainly a proxy on Bitcoin. That is what this company has turned into. I think the vast majority of their market cap is directly related to their Bitcoin holdings. They hold more Bitcoin on their balance sheet than any publicly traded company in the world. And by that, I mean self-owned Bitcoin. There are other companies that hold custody of Bitcoin, but it's not theirs. MicroStrategy, they borrow money, they dilute stock, they buy Bitcoin, it's theirs. They have more Bitcoin than any other publicly traded company in the world. They are the direct proxy on Bitcoin. So I have long said that I think the one company that may suffer in the short term when we get a spot ETF is MicroStrategy, because a lot of the people that are using MicroStrategy to get exposure on Bitcoin, there's the potential that some of them will migrate over to the spot ETF. You could make that argument. Some people make that argument about the Bitcoin miners. There's other, so I don't know that to be the case. But what I will say is MicroStrategy recently has been moving pretty much almost exactly on pace with Bitcoin. And today, it pretty much did the exact opposite of Bitcoin and the Bitcoin miners. So I don't know. Maybe this is a one-off event, or maybe this is just another tiny little piece of the puzzle that some people in the know that we are about to get a spot ETF on Wednesday. I would take that with a grain of salt or sand or whatever the expression is. That's certainly nothing to make a decision based off of, but it's just another little thing that jumped out at me today. why were they so red on a day where everything was green? Now, there were a few other laggers. I saw somebody ask, why is HUT lagging? And I don't know the answer to that. And I do want to say HUT put out a press release today. HUT gets nothing but good news. I can't tell you. I have continued to add to my position in HUT, not financial advice. You know, HUT's very different than all the other Bitcoin mining companies. I've mentioned all these companies have different business models. HUT maybe more so than all the rest, but they had this news come out today. Let me find it. HUT 8 receives court approval in its stalking horse bid of 4 natural gas power plants, including the North Bay Bitcoin mine. So if you guys remember, they had facilities up and running at North Bay. They were buying power from Validus. That situation deteriorated rapidly to the point where Validus stopped providing power. You know, they each sued each other. It turned into a nightmare. For a long time, people said, oh, that was a disaster by HUT 8. They lost that situation. Well, the end of this whole story is Validus is now out of business, and HUT owns all of what Validus had, essentially, including the power plant in North Bay. So to me, this was a gigantic win for them. This is, I think, either 310 or 330 megawatts. They list out right here. So you can see 40 megawatts of Bitcoin mining facility in North Bay. So this gives them access to, they do a lot of things. Obviously, they're a Bitcoin mining company first, but, they're involved in a lot of other things. They have a lot of other streams of revenue. This was a big win to them, and it went completely unnoticed today. Their stock did not move at all on a day where, as things picked up, everything else, a little bit started to go off to the races, particularly, Bitfarms up 9%. Cleanspark went from down 10% to up 5%. Riot and Marathon were up the better part of 8%. So, most of the other big companies had great days. There were a few that lagged, and HUT was not even up 1% today. So I took that as a buying opportunity. It was down. When I bought it, it was down. So I got this in the red today. And, at some point, I think that we're going to see, I'm expecting to see some press releases from HUT to talk about their plans to increase their exahash. They have not even begun to tell us what that is yet. They have a massive amount of infrastructure. They're set to do it. So if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. But it's my opinion that sooner than later, you're going to see some press releases from HUT talking about the buying new machines and, how many they're buying and when they're going to get up and running in the year 2024. So I'm expecting increase in their exahash. They did just jump up to 7.2 exahash last month with the merger. But I think that's just the beginning, in my opinion.
What are you bragging, Tom?
What?
About HUT? I'm just joking.
Listen, I got most of my HUT. Well, I won't say most of it, but this dipped all the way down to, I got some at $8.10. Just,
Really?
and I think it got even a little bit below that. I didn't catch the bottom, but this was another. There have been some fairly simple setups here in the Bitcoin mining world lately. So, I feel fortunate, and we've talked about them all on the channel.
I wasn't shocked that didn't move it more about that whole thing with the power plant. That?
Yeah, I don't know. It got no
news.
It got no right. It got no, and this was just kind of. I think people assumed it was a done deal, but this was final approval. So nothing's done until it's done. So this was good news. So I took this as good news.
I take it as good news. How are we doing on that poll?
Let's call this poll. Will Bitcoin hit a new all-time high in 2024? In other words, 69,000 or higher. 89% say yes. Thank you for participating. Another 239 votes. So overwhelmingly, the sentiment is we're going to hit a new all-time high in 2024. If the Bitcoin cycle follows, the peak of this cycle should happen not in 2024, sometime, maybe third quarter 2025. Now, there's no saying that this cycle is going to be like the previous cycles. Like I said, we only have had a few of these. So they've all been similar in many ways. They're not identical. And there's a lot of new big things happening. So I don't know, it's hard to say, are we going to be early this time? Maybe. Are we going to, is it going to go further this time? We'll see what happens. Let's end that poll. And I'm just going to do a quick follow-up poll on that. Does anybody think okay, just a quick natural follow-up question. 89% of us thought that Bitcoin would hit 69,000 by the end of the year 2024. Does anybody think we've got about 3.5? Actually, let's go to the clock. Where's the clock? That don't seem right. It says 123 days until the halving. I think it's less than that. Yeah, I don't know why this continuously changes. I think it has to do with this. I think we're going to be in the middle of April. I'm going to show you guys something. And I think this thing takes it into account. Right now, for the moment, so every 2 weeks, the difficulty level gets updated. So here's a list of recent updates. And you can see most of these are green. We had one here on December 9th. Can you guys see this? On December 9th, it was down. The network difficulty went down 0.96%. So a little less than 1%. Other than that, you go all the way back to from September of 2023 until January of 2024. All the rest have been a move to the upside. Some have been big moves. 5.5%, 6.5%, 5%, almost 7% on December 23rd. But for the moment, we have a little bit of an anomaly going on. The last few blocks, we're a little bit into, you'll see it's very early. These are the blocks. This is the next time. Block 826,560 is when the difficulty level will adjust again. Well, at the moment, we're having a little bit of anomaly. It looks like, it's been taking 11.28 minutes to solve blocks since we had the last update. So I think, that would be an 11%. 10 minutes is what they adjust to. So, if it's taking longer than that, they decrease the difficulty level. If it's taking shorter than that, they increase it. So at the moment, in a short window of time, we're having a little bit of an anomaly. I would say it's, almost a very high level of probability that this will sort itself out. It's likely that this is going to end up green, not red. If it's red, maybe by 1%, not by 11%. So things are skewed. So, I shouldn't have gone to the clock at all because it's wrong. I'm still working under the, I think, reasonable assumption that the halving is going to be somewhere in the middle of April. So as you answer the question, nothing is certain because obviously, until these blocks are mined, we don't know when the halving occurs. But it would seem to me that it's going to be somewhere in the middle of April in all likelihood.
Dude, wow, 50, almost 50-50 on this poll, Tom. All-time high prior to halving, yes or no?
Well, and
wow.
So from a historical standpoint, I mentioned earlier, and not that this means anything, but Bitcoin has never hit its all-time high prior to the halving.
So here's my question, but Bitcoin's never had billions of dollars dumped on it either.
I agree completely. Absolutely. That's why I asked this question. I think there's a legit chance that this happens.
Okay. Dude, so what happens, and I just have to play hypothetical, because we all like to play it, Tom, and I'm sorry, I'm just a real person.
We're all just people.
if Bitcoin goes to, let's just say 100K, where does like Marathon, CleanSpark, and Riot go? Just give me those three. Where would you think they should go?
I mean, it depends on what period of time. One of the things with Bitcoin is
May of this year.
as long as it doesn't happen in, a lot of people are looking for one gigantic candle to the upside. I will tell you, the Bitcoin miners tend to underperform when Bitcoin moves in gigantic, gigantic chunks in a super short period of time. So I would rather have a slow, steady move to the upside. If we methodically move to 100,000, I would expect, and people will probably say numbers larger than the one I'm going to say, but I would look for triples anyway in
Right.
the Bitcoin miners that,
Dude,
that
that'd be
I have a level of
huge.
confidence in. And I do think some will do better than triple. You could get a triple, a quadruple, you could get a 5x. And for those of you who don't think that that stuff happens, many of the Bitcoin miners 5x'd in the year 2023. So we just had it happen.
Wow. That'd be so much
Now, of
money.
course,
Oh my
the year
goodness.
following, if your Bitcoin miner just 5x'd last year, it gets a little bit harder for it to do it again after a 5x to do another 5x. But with that type of move, 2, 3, 4, 5x's, depending on the Bitcoin miner, let's just say the winners are going to have gigantic. I mean, that would be, more than a double for Bitcoin. We're at 47,000, so we're a lot closer to that than it sounds like, but that would be more than a double for Bitcoin. So I would expect it to be, at least a triple for the Bitcoin miners, and they could run way past that and then maybe have a little pullback. So it's hard to we can get there in so many different ways that it's going to depend.
Right.
But I do think, by the end of this cycle, I'm expecting, moves even larger than that for the Bitcoin miners that I'm invested in.
Wow. Well, I got a boogie.
All right, George, thank you
Some
for
of us
joining
didn't get
us.
to sleep in.
Yes, well, George and I went to the Bills game last night, so we had a late night. And thanks for driving, George.
You're welcome. I'm glad I could do it. All right, I guess we'll see you the members tomorrow at 4:15. Oh wait, you're probably still gonna go. I'm sorry.
I'll wrap it up. I'll be around for another minute. I'm going to wrap it up in a minute. But thank you, George, for joining us on. This is
You
an
too. Great.
impromptu live stream. Somebody asked, do we do this every day? So have a good night, George. Thanks for joining us.
You too. I'll see you guys.
We don't do a live stream every day. We do a live stream every Friday when the market closes. We do a members only live stream every Tuesday when the market closes. And then if there are significant things happening, we do a live stream. So lately, we've been doing 1 or 2 additional live streams a week. I do think it's helpful to talk about this, a little bit more in real time. So sometimes letting a whole week go by, we miss some important conversations. And, on the good days, it's nice to get together and talk. And on the bad days, I think it's even more important that we get together and share ideas. And so that's what we try to do here. I'm going to end this poll because it was just at exactly 50-50. So there's some optimism that we could get to Bitcoin's all-time high back to 69,000. I mean, that is not that far away. Let me go to the 1 day and just, zoom out a little bit. That's only 64. So, okay. What are we talking as a percentage here? So this is where we are right now. So Bitcoin needs to go up, about 50%, let's call it, to get to its previous all-time high, 47%. So while that is a big run up, just to put it in perspective, if you look at what Bitcoin's done since, if we go to October, so this is only, this is late October. Let's go earlier. Let's go to the beginning of October. That's September. So from October 11th, that's, almost exactly 3 months ago. Bitcoin's up 77% since then. So we need to do less. We're now only 47% away from Bitcoin's all-time high. So to put it in perspective, I mean, we did a lot more than that just in the last 90 days. Now, this was a tremendous, tremendous run for Bitcoin. And like I said, you can see in this 90-day window, there were no pullbacks. We did not retest any lines of support. It was just up and then up some more and then up some more. The only thing we did for a minute, for 2 weeks, we bumped into a little resistance. We didn't pull back. We just went sideways for 2 weeks. And then we did just end a period here of going sideways. I say that we ended it. That is, if today's breakout holds. This is a pretty decisive breakout. So I'll just leave you with a little bit of very basic technical analysis. We were looking for 3 things to happen. We talked about on the Friday live stream. Number one, this is the Bitcoin 1-day chart. So this is the MACD. We were looking for a bullish crossover on the MACD. Well, we've got 1 hour until this daily candle closes. And unless something very bad happens very quickly, we have a pretty decisive bullish crossover on the 1-day MACD. So that was one of the 3 things that we were looking for. Here on the daily RSI, I had put a line. To me, this goes back to December 14th, which is not that long ago, a little bit less than 1 month. You can see we hit 63.5 on the daily RSI. We got rejected. We hit it again a few days later. We got rejected. We hit it again a few days ago and got rejected. We're about to close a daily candle. And it looks to me, again, unless we have a really bad hour, we're up more around, let's see, this is almost at 67. So, it looks like we're going to have a breakout here on the RSI. We had a bullish crossover. And the other thing we were looking for was this has been a line of resistance. We have a green line at 44,192. That was the daily candle close on December 8th, exactly 1 month ago today. We had 1 day that was, looked like a fake out. We had 1 day since then where we opened and closed a daily candle above that. It looked like we were off to the races. The next day was a giant red candle. Every day since this was resistance again. Now, today, we crossed this line, and once we did, we really, really ran to the upside. We are over $47,000 right now. So, this line's at, we're $3,000 above this line. So, it looks like virtual certainty today's daily candle is going to close above this. So if we can close above that line and get, 1 or 2 consecutive days of confirmation where we close above this line and turn this from what was about 1 month of resistance, if we can turn this into support, then I think, we're in the middle of the next leg up. Unfortunately, fortunately, unfortunately, however you want to look at it, a lot of this leg up, we were looking to get to this line here at 48,200. Well, we got most of the way there here in 1 day. We are now only, with this 1 day, we're now only 2.5% away from this. So, a lot of technical traders, they wait for confirmation on a breakout. One of the problems with that is with Bitcoin, when it has these huge moves, by the time you get a breakout, sometimes you're pretty near your technical price target. So, you end up missing. But, I don't think that either which way, I don't think this is the end. I'm still very bullish. I think, we continue to move up. We'll see what happens. Our next scheduled live stream for the public is Friday. So by Friday, we will know if we get a spot ETF or not. We have a members only live stream tomorrow. If we do get a Bitcoin spot ETF approval on Wednesday, or conversely, if we definitively get a rejection, we may have, if we have big moves in Bitcoin, we will probably do another live stream. So, we'll see. Maybe that day will be a non-event, but if it is a big day, you can look to see, maybe join us then. Otherwise, I want to thank everybody very much for joining us on this impromptu live stream. If you have not yet, it does still help the live stream even after we're done. if you smash the like button, so it is much appreciated. Also, if you're new to the channel or you have not yet subscribed, if you enjoy this content, please consider subscribing to the channel. And a special thanks to all the members who joined us today on this live stream. So, and thanks for being members. Thanks for being subscribers. I hope everybody had a great day trading. For the most part, this was a giant reversal. This morning looked ugly. So, everything turned around in Bitcoin and the Bitcoin miners. This was a tremendous day. So hopefully more to come. Either way, for the members, we will see you tomorrow after the market closes. Everybody have a fantastic night. Thanks again, and we will see you in the next one.